For this video, Building and Interpreting Graphs, we're going to start by going to the TI website and obtaining the files in the Skills of Science section. We're going to start by going to the website education.ti.com, and we're going to select the tab for Activities and then Science Inspired. When we get to the Science Inspired site, you can click on any one of the subject areas, and we're going to focus on Skills of Science and the lesson for building and interpreting graphs. When we get to the site for building and interpreting graphs, you'll notice on the right that you can download all the files, teacher notes, student activity, and the TNS file. You do need to download all these files, and then you're going to work with the transfer tool to transfer the TNS file to your handhelds. There are videos on downloading and transferring that you can refer to. Here are the student instructions downloaded as a Word document. You'll notice on the left there are text written instructions for them, and on the right there are images of what the handheld calculator should look like. So as we scroll through, the student directions ask them to work on problem 1, Introduction to Graphing. Move to pages 1.2 and 1.3. And you can see in the image here of the handheld, it will show you page 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and will tell the students how to navigate through. So once we learn how to navigate through the pages, they're going to read the procedure on page 1.2, look at the graph on page 1.3, and answer the questions below. As students continue to move through their document, there are questions that they can answer here in the Word doc, moving on to pages 1.4 and 1.5 in the handheld. Let's take a quick look at the handheld and how we move through pages. When you're here in the handheld, you'll notice that the pages are tabbed at the top, 1.1, 1.2, and they continue here with this arrow pointing to the right. So I can click on the different pages and move through, or I can use my handheld and hit the Control and right arrow, which will also move me through the various pages. You can see I went from 1.4 to 1.5. If I want to move back to 1.4, I hit Control and my left arrow. So we're going to ask the students to go back to read the procedure, look at the graph, and start to answer the questions on their printed out Word document. So after the students have worked through those first few pages, we get to page 2.1, which has them go ahead and try it. So moving on to page 2.2, it's time for students to enter some data. Select the cell and then click in the value. Select the cell, add the value, the number, and then hit enter. Select the cell, add the value, and hit enter. If you make a mistake, you have the delete function up here in the upper right underneath clear. I can delete, and put in the correct values. Once our data is all entered, we're going to move to the next page, 2.3. Here's where we're able to enter the labels for the X and Y axis. So we click on the space, and students would have to decide if their x-axis is going to be temperature or time. At this point, students would go back to their Word document and answer questions about the graph before moving on to the next pages in the activity. At this point, we have several options for analysis. We can click on Menu, Analyze, Regression, and let's select Show Linear MX plus B. If we don't want to look at that particular regression, you can hover over the line and remove the regression. If we move to the next page, Graphing and Analyzing Nonlinear Data, students would read the instructions and then proceed to the next page. Follow the instructions and students will move through the pages with different means of analysis. So that was an overview of what you will see in the Building and Interpreting Graphs activity from the TI website. Make sure you get the student page as well as the TNS file and of course the teacher guiding document, which will have an answer key. By doing this activity, you will help your science students not only collect data but learn how to analyze it and use all of the high-powered functions on the Nspire for doing their data analysis.